Dan Lepinski.
Mayor, members of the City Council, City Manager, good evening. My name is Dan Lepinski. I am living in North Richland Hills at the present time. But to identify myself, I am presently under contract with the state of Texas through the State Comptroller's Office as the state's expert, subject matter expert on solar energy. Earlier this year, I was contracted to conduct 20 workshops for various government officials such as yourselves, starting at the state legislative level, county commissioners and judges, city officials, and others, including code compliance. Having said that, this is also my 44th year involved in the solar industry. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state of Texas in the electrical industry. However, to say that, I am also not affiliated in any manner with any manufacturer, unlike certain contentions that were made just a little while ago. I am also working with the North Central Texas Council of Governments as they work toward permitting best practices and ordinances. However, as a disclaimer, I do not represent the North Central Texas Council of Governments nor the state. I am here in a professional capacity as a solar expert. I've also been asked by the state of Texas, Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, to assist them next year in helping to develop better codes and so forth for ensuring better ethics in the solar and energy industry. As was indicated just a moment ago, yes, we have our snakes. They are a few, just as you have them in, for example, the roofing industry every time you get a hailstorm out here in this part of the Metroplex. We hear about it, they come through, and unfortunately there are people that get taken. It's not exclusive to the solar industry. So if you go out and you look, yes, you can find some issues. Having said that, I'd just like to reinforce a few points very specifically. Comments made by Mr. Lee Battle to you folks in an April 15th memo to you indicated that the American Planning Association and his comments in the memo and your ordinance were somewhat within agreement. And what I've just handed to you tonight comes directly from the American Planning Association. You will find that your ordinance as proposed actually is in contradiction to the American Planning Association. It also contradicts the suggested best practices by the North Central Texas Council of Governments. They do not advocate restricting on the basis of direction. Now, if you want to use other communities, I suggest you could take a look at Benbrook. City of Benbrook had a restriction on direction for solar panels for a period of time. At a presentation last year by the Chief Building Officer, Mr. Ismael Rivera from the City of Benbrook, they rescinded that part of their ordinance, and in his presentation, Mr. Rivera stated very simply, they discovered it was not only unnecessary, but unwanted by their citizens. I also note a couple of other very brief points. There were comments made, for example, about PV color. For the solar panels, photovoltaics, we use the word PV or initials. They're only manufactured in a very limited number of colors. If you are looking at communities that have tried to limit them on the basis of color, it's not possible. They come in just a very, very few colors. This is actually even part now of the state law, HB 362 in 2011, on homeowners associations, where it even spells out the very specific colors that solar panels can be. Well, guess what? Those are the only colors they're manufactured. Makes it easy. Comment was made that it's not restrictive here to the point where it's affecting the number of systems being installed. I point out to your neighbor to the south, the city of Plano, which is a very good example of a solar-friendly operation. They work on a very concise permitting process, which is not only lower in cost to the city, but simpler for their citizens. And on a per capita basis, disregarding city number of residents in the community, Plano has 150% more solar installations than Allen per capita. So I suggest to you that the ordinance as written right now is restrictive, and the numbers prove it. It was also suggested that trees would be removed, and that is also not true. I cannot overemphasize that. Trees are actually a greater asset than the solar panels. Why would you lower the value by cutting down the trees? We strive to install panels in the industry where there is no shade. Not every home is going to be ideal for that purpose. So when you have homes that are, allow it, whether they have a front facing south or not. If they have large trees that cast shade on the home, that actually is more valuable than the solar panels. And the homeowner would be absolutely foolish and out of their mind to cut the trees down to install solar. I would challenge anyone to find an example where trees for a home have been cut down to install solar panels. To the point of home valuation, there are 26 years of studies, as Mr. Howe just before me pointed out, and these come from non-solar related sources. They came from HUD, EPA, Department of Energy, and others who have no vested interest in the solar energy market. And those 26 years of studies have proven time and time again that adding solar panels to homes increases their value. There has not been one point of evidence ever discovered where it decreased. At the absolute worst, it had no effect whatsoever on the home valuation, but in the overwhelming majority, it added not only to that home, but it made people more incentivized to buy in that neighborhood because they look at the city as progressive, not restrictive. Rather than take up any more of your time, I did send an email several weeks ago to each of you, and I will extend an offer as a state subject matter expert with the state of Texas to sit down with you and answer questions on a neutral basis. I would hazard a guess that after 44 years in the industry, I'm probably the only subject matter expert here in the room tonight. Doesn't mean I'm the only one qualified, but the state looks at me that way. And I will be very happy to share my knowledge with you. I will tell you right now, I am overwhelmed with work. Not in Allen, but in other parts of the country. I flew in from Houston tonight just to be here for this. I'm headed home. But if you wish to accept my offer, I will provide my time to the city of Allen pro bono as a professional engineer and subject matter expert in solar. Thank you.
Thank you.